Hi everyone. Firstly, thank you all so much for coming today. It's nice to see a room full of people. Thank you to these lovely ladies as well. I'm Ashley James, so I'm going to be moderating today's panel. Sorry, by the way, for the super unprofessional notes. I printed them sideways instead of that way. So anyway, that's me trying to print at midnight.
You're a maverick.
I was just working very late, but I'm here and I'm very excited and honoured to be here. What I would really love to do to begin is to get you to introduce yourselves. I always feel like it's so much better coming from your own mouth rather than mine. So let's start with you, Juno.
Hiya, I'm Juno Dawson. My day job is I'm #1 Sunday Times bestselling novelist. Thanks. However, my side hustle, which is kind of rapidly becoming sort of like my equal hustle, is I'm a TV writer as well. I've been writing scripts since about 2017, and I did the official Doctor Who podcast, Doctor Who Redacted, and that led me to eventually writing the Interstellar Song Contest for Doctor Who this year, and I've got a bunch of other things in development as well.
Amazing.
Hello, I'm Jordan Gray. I'm a stand-up comedian and I'm the writer and creator and executive producer of Transaction on ITV and ITVX. And I got naked on Friday Night Live, which got 1,600 Ofcom complaints and a BAFTA. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Hannah Jones. I am predominantly an actor. I just did What It Feels Like for a Girl, which is my first acting job, God bless. And I just started writing a TV show which is currently in development with a production company, which is cool. So, actor and writer, that's me.
I'm a broadcaster, journalist and prolific tweeter. What can I say? I've done reality shows, done a lot of the morning shows as well, very similar to Ashley there, who I also know from Celebrity Big Brother. We lived together for a week or so, although she voted me out.
Did I? Did I actually?
I think so. I think you did.
I don't think I did. I remember.
It's all in the past.
I mean,
We're just
wow.
Let's not dig up old wounds. I
feel like I always voted for Shane from Boyzone for some reason.
Maybe you did.
Yeah,
maybe I've got
I feel
that
like
wrong.
I had your back, India.
Oh, that's good. So I work in a kind of news and factual environment. A little known fact about me, I also do stand-up comedy. And while I'm really looking forward to this discussion, it's just great to have so many people in the room talking about this at this time. Also a great idea for a documentary. So if anyone's interested, have a chat afterwards.
One of the reasons I'm so excited to be here today, especially working in news and broadcasting, is to be able to celebrate trans creators as opposed to debate transness. So I'm really, really excited, and yeah, I feel like it's a really great chance to showcase talent. As we've seen above, there is a lot of it, and to challenge those of you in the room, whether you're producers, commissioners, journalists, broadcasters, to think more broadly and more creatively and more inclusively about the stories that you tell and also the people that you trust to tell them. So without further ado, I think I wanted to begin with acknowledging the current realities of where we are. So I would like to ask each of you, what has been your biggest surprise, good or bad, about working in TV and media as a trans creative?
I'll start off with a positive thing.
Yep.
What was a surprise, specifically as a trans creative, that they let you keep the shoes when you're done. It's very hard to get hold of size 11 heels at the best of times, and they're not going to give them to anybody else. So that was nice.
What
That's positive. Yeah, it's a big surprise. I haven't bought a pair of shoes in like 4 years.
What, specifically to you then, what surprised you the most about trying to get a scripted show commissioned? By the way, I'm saying trans creator, but I feel like we can just say creator because I know that we're here to discuss transness, but it's probably like how I get really irked about having to say women's football, and my new thing is in a pub quiz, if someone says, what year did this person win the football? I'll be like, are we talking about the men's or the women's?
Yeah.
So going forward, I'm just going to say creator.
Yeah.
So Do you remember the question? Do you want me to ask?
The most...
What surprised you the most about trying to get a scripted show commissioned as a creator?
It's got a complicated part of it is I didn't realise with these massive corporations that there can sometimes be quite a divide of communication between departments, and that is even between like comedy and drama, or obviously factual and scripted, or scripted and unscripted. You'd think all these people would communicate with each other, and up and down the ladder, finding, just how many people are involved in the project and how you have to be on top of all that communication. Being an actor in something and a creator of something at the same time, you have to have like a global understanding of the project. I quite like being pulled in lots of different directions, it's like, but I wish people would talk to each other more. Why do people hate each other so much?
It's gone very existential. What about you, or let's start, Hannah.
Could you ask the question?
Yeah, so the original question was, what has been your biggest surprise, good or bad, about working in TV and media?
I think for me it's kind of odd because I came in at a really weird time. My first taste of TV and film and entertainment itself was being the lead in a BBC drama about trans people. So I feel like it was very different. Usually we are the minority in the room, but like the minorities ran that show, so it's kind of like a weird, I think I've got a very swayed judgment on that, but I think something that really surprised me was the respect that I got because of the show. Like, you walk into a room and your reputation goes in before you, the show's reputation goes in before you, and then you sit down and you present yourself rather than the show. Does that make sense, or am I just rambling?
No, absolutely.
You think, I think I know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's a pedestal.
Do you?
have to, like, step in.
Who knows?
India, what about you? I suppose you're slightly different in that you're media.
It is different from the entertainment side. I would say that's actually the good and the bad. I think it's great at the moment that on the, what I'll call the creative side, the entertainment side, there are some real shoots. And as we can see, we've got some great people from our community. There are lots more as well that can do terrific things. And I think people on that chunk of the media are kind of more open-minded, I guess, through virtue that they're creative people and they're looking for opportunities. The bad side is kind of our side, Ashley, the news. So news is more, it's just generally less fun and more serious, obviously. But they've been literally poisoned by events over the last kind of 5 or 6 years. And the only opportunities for trans people out there have been what I would term trans on trial situations. So the scenario would be a negative story breaks, you get a call to go in a newsroom and sit in a chair as if you're on trial for everything bad that every trans person has done in the world, and then news chuck you in the bin, and that's the last you hear. So it's a real desert out there in terms of factual. And the one thing that I would like in the future is just to tell trans people's stories. Stop speaking about us. Again, you get this situation where there's often a discussion about trans people. And I've seen 5 cis people in a room discussing trans. And there's nobody trans there. It wouldn't happen with black people, it wouldn't happen with Muslim people, but it happens to us. And I think that's the area that TV has to catch up on.
Do you think it's the fear of like backlash maybe that stops some of the decision makers in broadcasting from hiring trans talent?
On the news side, I think it's a mixture of things. I think that's an element. I mean, I'll call them the other side, can be really damn nasty, actually, really aggressive, and they will pile on a channel or a program maker if they're including a trans person sometimes, and put pressure on that way. But the nature of news is. I don't know whether this is a surprise to anybody. How a newsroom works is the morning papers come in, and that's where TV broadcast news take their leads from. Broadcast news don't send journalists out to find their own stories so much these days. They rely on what is generated on social media and is in the newspapers. And unfortunately for us, it's just been unrelenting negativity. So Without it being challenged, people accept that as the norm because trans people are not heard on the news side. If you hear a statement being made and nobody says, hold on a minute, that's not true, then you just take it for granted that that must be correct because nobody's challenging it. I know, and by the way, I would like to thank Ashley, actually, one of the few people on TV. I've seen you numerous times. Whenever this is cropped up, you do stick up for the trans community. So, well done.
I always hate being clapped just for being like a decent human being. Like, you are welcome. Sorry, my hair tie just snapped, so just pretend that my hair has always been down. No one saw anything.
You've got that
It was just like the dramatic
beach
moment
hair,
as
though.
you were talking.
Looks good.
Sorry to stick to you, India, but I think it's really interesting the point that you're raising, and especially as someone who is in these kind of broadcasting spaces and who is often asked to speak on, as you say, like trans issues or defend culture wars. What do you think needs to change, or how do you see it changing in broadcasting?
Well, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. I think you do a fantastic job. You're obviously clued up and everything. But isn't it sad that we have to have cis people defending us? If we were talking about any other minority, they wouldn't have a proxy person going in. The discussion would be in the newsroom or the making of a factual program. We're making a program about Black, Asian, gay people. We need to have Black, Asian, gay people involved. But when it's a trans story, that conversation does not seem to take place. And I honestly don't understand why that is. I don't know. I've worked in newsrooms, and it's the first thing, if you're doing a story on a minority or a particular group in society, the first thing you do is find somebody from that group because you want to hear their stories.
I suppose that's
directly.
also one of the great things about like today is being able to hopefully create more shows where we're able to humanize trans people and show
Definitely.
the individualism, because even, you know, you guys seeing your talent and what you're about, it's obviously very individual. So rather than someone like me defending culture wars, it's actually people like being able to humanise people and seeing the lived experience.
But I'll just say one more thing and then I'll shut up for
Don't
a while.
shut up,
I think the word you just used there, it's the humanity. And I think across the board, whether it's news and factual or entertainment, and that is actually why entertainment, what these guys do it here is so powerful as well. It's when you humanise trans people and we're not seen as one-dimensional, which in a news context is always danger or threat.
Juno, I'd actually like to come to you because I feel like you're very talented at kind of taking, I mean, talented full stop, but at taking, I suppose, it's not just about being trans, what you create. So how important is that to you?
I think, you see, my introduction into TV writing has been so strange. Like, I felt like the work I've done with novels kind of gave me this sort of strange, sort of secret side entrance into TV. It all came about because people were trying to option one of my books, and you can only option it once. So people were like, well, what else have you got? And I was like, well, here's a list. Goblins on Mars, let's go. And I've never been short of ideas, and I realised there was this whole other way for me to sort of generate income just by sort of spraying things up a wall and seeing what sticks. But I do it really well. But I think of the things that I have had in development, some of them have been about being trans. Like my memoir was optioned at one point. It's going to be sassy trans girls living in London. Great. Didn't get made. Whereas some of them have not. I had, because my background was in YA novels, I've had at least 2 British Buffies in development. Thank you, again, didn't get made. And again, the work that I was doing kind of ultimately led to Doctor Who, which, if you are paying attention, there is a little bit of trans subtext in my episode. If you, like, the director of photography was a trans woman, and she was like, see what you did there? And I was like, thanks. Because I sometimes think it's nice to squash the vegetables under the mashed potato and kind of, I think you can sneak in a lot of agenda into Doctor Who and into
Jordan
genre.
looks really confused.
I was trying to figure out that metaphor.
Just smuggle in the vitamins.
Oh, because if you don't like vegetables.
Yeah,
But if
exactly.
you like vegetables, then...
Yeah, just
right,
hide it
okay.
in the mash.
Right,
Hide
okay.
it in the mash.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, hide it. I gift you that.
Thank you.
And I think with genre stuff, with sci-fi and fantasy, you can talk an awful lot about the state of the country, the state of the nation, which is what Russell T Davies, who's in charge of Doctor Who, does so well, which is... So I think even though on the surface of it, a lot of my work has nothing to do with me being trans, actually everything I do is about being trans. Because even when I'm writing a cis straight character, I've never been cis or straight a day in my life, so I'm making it up. So everything I write comes through a prism of transness. It's just kind of how obviously it does so, I think.
I think what I would like to discuss now is
My
when-
hair is natural.
I mean, it's fabulous, much better than my
Such a
updo.
panel of transgender women, Jesus.
When we were speaking, was it like 2 weeks ago, a few of you mentioned that you wondered if you'd been hired just to tick a
the
box.
diversity hire, yeah.
So I suppose, like, what does genuine inclusion look like for people as opposed to you feeling that you haven't just been a box tick?
Right. I think we've maybe all experienced the same thing in casting. You get an offer in to play Well, you get lots
I
of
know what
offers
you're gonna
to-
say.
Right,
We can all say it in
Right.
unison. We know
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Oh, let's do it because it'd be really funny if the
Yeah,
three different
okay.
things.
Can I try it?
We all
Three,
get asked to play
2,
sex
1.
workers.
What did you say?
We should have said nuns. We all get offered to play sex workers, but then
Yeah,
what
yeah.
happens? You get quite a few offers, but what has also happened to me, at least at least twice I can tell, and I reckon they go, oh no, it's not just a sex worker. She's the madam of the house.
Yeah.
She's got agency. Yeah, no, this is different. It's not different. You're the fifth person to do that this week.
Yeah.
Like reframing it. Look, the transgender is a complicated subject for a lot
There
of people.
was a long spell in Silent Witness when we were really well cast as dead bodies on mortuary slabs.
Yeah.
A big run of that.
Although I will say, Holby City, I was meant to be a sex worker, and I said, please, could she not be a sex worker? So they just made me a junkie. I'm a thief,
Nice.
a junkie and a thief. But, it's a step in a different direction.
That's what I call hiding the vegetables beneath the mat.
Shit.
So yeah, in terms of inclusion, there's like a way in that we think is the way in, and there's a few steps behind. They're thinking they've opened a really amazing
Yeah.
liberal door, and it's still there.
Was it you, Jordan? Can we spill the tea on? I think it was you that said that you tried to get a show commissioned, but you were told that there was already another trans.
Oh,
show.
that was
yeah,
me.
but I
That
can't-
was me, I think. Yeah.
No, was it you?
Yeah.
Can we spill the tea on that?
It's
I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't want to land myself in trouble. Please hire me. But no, I was told it was when Gender Games, which was my book of essays about being trans, my trans woman in the city show, and we were told at 2 networks that, well, we've already got something very similar. And the thing that they had that was similar was that they were being written by a trans woman and they were about being trans. And I don't think that would be true, for example, for brunette women finding out something mysterious about their husband at 9 p.m.
Coming to Channel 5.
Any channel. Any channel. A prestige brunette discovers a secret. Sorry, oh my God, please hire me, please hire me. Right, just stop talking.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there is still that element of if there is another trans show, I'll put it to you, Jordan, that people are a bit more reluctant to be like, well, we do already have that one, or we already have that actress playing that role.
Yeah.
And what do people in the room need to do?
Even in early development of the sitcom, there was a competing project that had nothing to do with it. It had sort of more of a Mrs. Doubtfire type of a feel to it, which was the same space, but according to these people. I'm a stand-up comedian, and you very rarely see a couple of transgender people on the same bill unless they're really leaning into that. So we're either all here at the same time, or there's only one of us floating around in space in a vacuum. it's not a thing to ignore. It's really cool to celebrate our differences. I wrote an entire sitcom about being transgender. That's all she talks about. It's really cool, but it's like she does it. So I think celebrating people's differences, and it's a hard thing to ask people to do, to celebrate differences without collecting us like Pokemon, all the different types of people, and sticking one of each on a thing. You don't have to create a false balance. You also don't have to create an actual subsection of society. That's kind of a weird way of doing it, because otherwise there'd be a square inch of one of us sat here if it was actually a percentage of society. We're hardly anything. Look, there's loads of us being all transgender up here right now.
What would you say to anyone who is maybe worried? I know you touched on this, India, about there being backlash or complaints about shows having trans representation, or shows about transness, or having you on to not discuss trans on trial, as you said.
Yeah. Well, I'd say quite plainly, ignore them. TV is about being brave and pushing boundaries. If you look at all the award winners over the years, BAFTA, etc., they've all pushed the envelope. They've done something different. And for me, I might, obviously I'm biased, but I think trans is a really rich and fertile area that TV hasn't fully explored yet. It's starting to, but there's so much more out there. There's many, many rich streams. I'm sure we all know people who exist on, YouTube, other kinds of platforms that are coming up and are a real threat these days to TV. So TV needs to actually get with it and start utilising what's out there in the trans community.
I remember
we're not actually as small as people think. I think people think we're like really minute. I think the last census said we were 260,000 people, probably more than that maybe, but that's around the same size as the UK Jewish population. I just use that as a comparative because they're the closest minority. But if you compare and contrast, the amount of representation in many, many fields, trans is just being left behind, really. So yeah, get with it, hire trans people, that's what I would say, and ignore the biddy mafia, the people who ring up and complain.
But people complain about Love Island. Like, there was 9 million complaints about somebody being a bit cunty on Love Island.
Yeah.
So people are going to complain. But I think I'm old enough to remember the fuss around Queer as Folk when it first came out. I think it was in 97. And people, like the Daily Mail, called it the gay soap. And, now that all looks a bit quaint and silly, given that obviously, we've all watched Queer as Folk. And so I think, surely we want people to talk. We want TV like Adolescents, like Baby Reindeer, that gets people talking. Yeah. And I think, watching Hannah's clip up there, that is a scene that a lot of people would have talked about that penis.
Yeah. I think inclusivity and diversity is getting a really bad rap at the moment, thanks to Donald Trump, and obviously all of that kind of bleeds into what happens over here. But I think TV, and it's shown this, with all minorities, gay people, black people, Asian people, over the decades, it's actually incumbent on people within TV to push back at this and not to be dictated to from the other side. You guys are the creatives, you guys are inclusive people. The people you work with are also diverse, and that's what you should be out there championing.
Yeah, and so that's your moral incentive. That's a good thing to live your life by. If you need an amoral incentive, which is what most TV needs, like pounds and pence, plucking somebody from a protected characteristic that's just been kicked and shat on over and over and over again. There's a robustness to a transgender person. And I'm speaking from the comedy perspective. Fucking funnier. We're just funnier people. We're just better at doing it. Behind the camera and in front of the camera, there's a robustness, a deeper understanding, a nuance, and an intuition that not everybody is sort of forced to have. We're forced to have that perspective because we keep getting kicked in the face. And that translates to pounds and pence because we really want to be there and we're going to work fucking hard and we're going to make it great. Watch Transaction on ITV and ITVX. I know.
I was late.
What do you wish gatekeepers would know about the diversity within the trans community?
Ooh. Well, I think this panel like softly speaks for itself in that there are at least 4 of us. There doesn't just need to be one. And I think when I first started out in the publishing industry, particularly, it felt like, well, we've got Mallory Blackman, so we're sorted for black writers, kind of. But then people realise that puts an enormous pressure on one person. And I think when I first came out, there was a sense of, ooh, you know, that person might not appreciate you sort of stepping on toes. But that's not how it is at all. Like, I love working with other trans people. And so I think we all bring something different to the table. We've all got a different skill set. And more importantly, we're all working class people as well.
Yeah.
So, so that's the other thing as well, which is because there aren't any minted transgender Nepo babies.
Yeah.
You know,
Not yet.
No minted transgender Nepo babies just yet. You know that you are kind of getting somebody who, again, has really earned their spot.
I also think we've had a lot of media that experiences or shows a very specific atypical trans person, like love Heartstopper, but a jolly happy trans girl, and we've had that in many other things.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
to actually have a character that has more than just their transness, this is like all the conversations we just had about like casting, about the box ticking, and this now of like having characters that are fully fledged, well written, who aren't just trans. From different backgrounds is so important, and I think having those, like in your show and in my show and the other shows coming, nudge nudge, wink wink, hire us, that to have those the characters written so well and have like more than just their transness is like
we
vital,
don't want
right?
to be. I sometimes I'm a bit fearful of the trans best friend.
Yes,
which I
exactly.
think 'cause we've moved on from the gay best friend, hopefully now. But I do wonder that there might be the sort of the trans sidekick, just there to have a witty one-liner on the side, kind of.
Yeah. I'm not against that. But I do appreciate it's not bad. No, I was going to say, like, we are either suffering saints or sexualized villains. And that's Most people's experience of transgender for the first time was Jerry Springer, some mad person rolling on and shouting at everybody. And that's gone into the public consciousness. Or we're completely squeaky clean suffering saint, best friend. Fucking pose. I didn't even cover my mouth. Everybody saw me say pose. Oh, no.
So I guess, Hannah, because you brought it up, what would be your ideal role that you would want to be cast in?
Ooh.
Sex worker.
A dead sex worker. I actually, it's so funny, with my old agent, I actually sat him down and I was like, I don't want to play a Scouser, I don't want to play a bleach blonde, I don't want to play a sex worker, and I don't want to play a trans girl. And then Sasha came along and I said, great, she's all of those, I'll take it. It was like, Sasha was not necessarily a dream, she was like a no-go, I don't want to do this, and it turned into a dream role of like being like unapologetically working class and trans and an absolute knobhead. Like, if you've seen the series, like, she's a bit of a hunt, C word, I'm not saying it. But
It's already been said.
it's been said, she's a cunt. Do you know what I mean? She's a cunt. So now I think I don't want to play another trans. I'll play another trans girl, don't get me wrong, hire me, but I don't think it's my essence. I think there is so much more to my talent, than being trans. You know, I want to be like a Bond girl, like following the footsteps of Caroline Cossey, be a Bond girl, be, I don't know, someone's glamorous girlfriend. Like Poison Ivy is like a dream role.
You'd be an amazing
Right?
Poison Ivy.
Like someone like Uma Thurman, who's just like ethereally beautiful. Not saying that that's me. Where I was going with that was that she can bring like camp without being like a camp, give them, like it's not that, it's like a different kind of camp. So that sort of thing. Sorry, long-winded way of saying Poison Ivy in Batman. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, it's like we're not allowed to contain multitudes because we're so representative of one thing, and that's slowly falling apart, slowly being disassembled, but only by people giving really cool three-dimensional performances.
I thought Hunter Schafer in Euphoria was a good example, especially the episode she co-wrote.
Yeah.
I thought that was the most interesting representation, obviously other than this one. And I thought I think it was called something, F everything that's not a sea blob, and that I don't think a cis person could have ever really written that, I don't think.
In what way do you feel like Hunter Schafer did such good?
So in that episode, it's one of the one-off Christmas specials, and we see Jules in therapy with a therapist, and she talks at great length about how she's designed her body to be as sexually appealing to a man as possible, and she's beginning to see the error in that, and that she's never once really thought about what body would she choose, not what body would a man choose. And I don't think that's something that Sam Levinson could have ever imagined. I think that had to come from Hunter Schafer. Probably. I don't know Hunter Schafer. That's a guess. But no, I really feel as a trans writer that I don't think that's something that would enter a cis person's head. The sort of the nuances of how you regard your own body as a female body or as a sexual body. I thought it was very good writing.
Yeah. What roles, I'll ask all of you, I've already asked you, what would you love to write? What would be your next dream thing?
I would love to veer into the sci-fi space because sci-fi does steer public opinion so much, like it projects things 10 to 20 years into the future.
Oh my God, collab.
Yeah, right.
Like any day of the week. Let's do it.
But
I've written an episode for Doctor Who that had... It's not... This was just... Sorry, Jane.
Am I Doctor
This
Who?
is not, oh my God, we're getting in trouble. Oh my God. This was just... I was doing a spec episode and I wrote a role for Jordan.
Really?
But... that is not... oh my God. I don't know what's going on with Doctor Who. If you're in the room, journalists, I do not know what's happening with Doctor Who. Do not ask me what's happening with Doctor Who.
It's me. Quote it.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, Jane. I'm sorry.
That's very sweet, thank you. What I was going to say was, imagine if I said Doctor Who. What I'd really like to do is, just on my own behalf, it would be really nice to play. I'd love to play, this isn't because you just said that, I'd love to play like an alien or something that has nothing to do with gender. It would be so nice to just get put up in prosthetics and not have to think about it every fucking second. Or just me smooth down there like an action man so it's nobody has to think about it. I want to be a robot or an alien.
That would be
love
amazing.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, given that you're talking about not being a gender but pushing gender boundaries, what's exciting to you about the future of storytelling and how do trans creatives push that forward?
Oh, me specifically. We're all here.
I mean, no, you can
We're
all
all,
ask, but it's
we're all
just
contemplative.
We're all thinking what that would look
Say
like.
again. What was the question? Sorry.
what's exciting you about the future of storytelling and how do trans creatives push that forward?
I think there's been a real wave recently. I was like, you can go. I'm gonna go actually.
Yeah,
There's been like a real wave recently of trans creators up and coming who have like done all sorts. You know, there's people who are influencers who are now going into writing. There's actors who are now going into writing, and those nuanced stories that we've been talking about that have real lived truth, that have grit, that have, you know, lived experience. Them being in those rooms is like breaking boundaries already. You know, being in those rooms with the BBC, with Netflix, whatever. That is just that alone. Sorry, I'm trying to like put all my words together in the most contextual way. The way that they are in those rooms, just being in those rooms is so transformative, and that's what's exciting to me, knowing that because of shows like yours, shows like mine, shows like Heartstopper, like people like that are going into those rooms where those people may never have met a trans person before and may have never gone, oh, actually, maybe I can see that from that perspective. Or maybe in 2 years' time they go, oh, remember that person we met for writing? We're writing a show about with a trans character. Maybe we get them in, you know? It's those like little pockets of hope that are making me feel really like, I feel like we're onto something. Yeah.
The pipeline, the trans to TV pipeline is maybe a little bit different as well. And I think social media plays a really important part in that, which is, I think, because we're not a terribly large community, people are finding us. I mean, I was found for Holby and I May Destroy You, you know. So I think that's quite exciting that people are looking at stand-up and people are looking in music and people are looking in fashion for people to put on TV and hopefully put in writers' rooms as well. And I've met some amazing young trans people in writers' rooms because they do want our voices.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this isn't my field, but I would say that because opportunities historically have been really almost non-existent for trans people until fairly recently, if you deprive people of that opportunity to be on TV, they will find other forms and other arts to go out and express themselves. And that is all happening. and again, it ties in with this thing about, you know, different mediums now catching up and in some cases overtaking TV as the main source of entertainment for a particular demographic or age group. Unless TV actually starts to get its act together and tap into that, then you're going to be left behind. Because
So-
the generation coming through, they're really cool with us, aren't they? They're absolutely fine. They don't have any of those issues. But I just feel that TV is still suspicious in some ways.
So India, what would a truly inclusive TV landscape look like for you? Let's say in 5 years' time, what would you like for it to look like?
Well, I would say, like, I was Britain's first transgender newsreader in 2017 on national TV. And when I got that gig, I thought, great, you know, other people are going to come through and this is it now. That's kind of been done. But the actual opposite happened. It just got stamped on completely. And that happening now would be, I'm just speaking honestly because I know newsrooms and I know people who work on factual programs, they wouldn't have a trans person in that position. So ideally, obviously I'd like to see lots of trans people getting involved. We're one of the hottest news topics, not that we want to be, but at the moment, and I think it's the very least that they can do. But I would say this as well, representation isn't, in a news aspect, representation isn't having trans people on arguing and having a fight and scrap and deny stuff. It's having trans people on just telling everyday news stories that are happening all around the world. It's the same with the acting and the entertainment thing. You know, we don't want to see trans people just playing trans people necessarily. It would be great if something like Coronation Street got a new landlady and it wasn't even mentioned for maybe a year, and then it turns out that she's trans. But by then, you know, everybody loves her.
Hayley
That's
Cropper,
the way
back
to
from
do
the
it.
dead.
Yeah. And that's the way to do it.
So I suppose the question, by the way, I just realised I did forget to say that if you have questions, then you go on the app and ask them. I can see that there's a few coming through, but we do have time at the end, and I'm sure that you're listening thinking that there's lots of things to ask. So I do have them and I can see them coming through. So if you have any questions, please put them on the app.
A lot of questions about Doctor Who popping up there. I think that's probably... We might have started something there.
I would like to ask each of you that if you could ask everyone in the room to do just one thing differently to help you all individually, but also trans creatives, what would that be?
Oh, right, I'll jump in. Like, so that was really cool what you were saying about, like, yeah, the trans people will find, any persecuted minority will find a different medium to showcase themselves if TV isn't doing it. Be outraged and scared in the next few months when you start to see that disappearing from social media, because the algorithms are being manipulated in a way that it's going to start to disappear.
Yeah.
And no one's going to notice. It's going to be really fucking scary and horrible. Be outraged. Don't forget to be scared and outraged and say it to the next person next to you. Otherwise, it will be conveniently swept under the carpet. I'm inclined to believe that's not going to be the end result, but there's sort of slightly turbulent times ahead if nobody says anything. So say something when it gets weird.
I think carry on looking for people in weird places / do not hire your cousin. Because I think all those, you know, the things that are getting people really, really excited are things which have been found in strange little clubs in Edinburgh, you know, that have been, and keep looking for those kind of it's horrible. And you know, we've not really said it very much. Authentic. Look for authentic voices.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming that the people who are in here are allies. Allies.
I'm an
but
ally.
Speaking those conversations with the people who aren't necessarily allies are so important, as you all know. But when it does get difficult, when it does get uncomfortable, don't just let it slide, like sit in that uncomfortability and be like, I feel this. How are the people we're talking about feeling, you know? Because if you're feeling uncomfortable, I promise you we're feeling 10 times more uncomfortable. Not me because I wear comfy clothes, but everyone's uncomfortable, you know? And my other point that is kind of not really like relevant, it is, but take trans people for a coffee and have a conversation with them. You sit in meetings with them and you have professional conversations with them, potentially, if not. You've got all our emails. But take trans people for a coffee and sit with them and learn about like what they want to see, you know? Because there's much more, you would get a much more exciting concept from trans people who say, I want to see this on television, this is the kind of character I want to see, than a cis person who's an LA diva dancing doll who loves queer culture, saying, I want to see this. Authentic people give authentic stories.
And also, sorry, I just parked you. A trans person might genuinely be the best person for the job. Like my specialism is not being trans. My specialism is Kevin Williamson, Joss Whedon style genre stuff. You know, that's what I'm really good at. I just also happen to be trans. But obviously this has been a struggle that any woman in this room will be familiar with, that you're constantly having to prove that you're not being hired because you're a woman. You're being hired because you are genuinely the best person for that role.
Mm-hmm. I think it's super interesting the point you make as well about like the fact you're all working class people, and again, like that's a much needed voice in TV landscape. India, what would you add?
I would just say go out there and be really brave. In a very mercenary way, that's where the prizes are. If you do that, that's where you'll get your awards. But secondly, how great would it be to actually help a minority break through and be accepted? Because what you're looking at here is essentially, you know, we're like the gays from the 70s and the 80s, and we're fighting at the moment to get something. And I would just ask you to go out there and be on our side, give us a chance, and just do something that is actually quite historic. They are genuinely trying. There are forces out there at the moment that are trying to wipe trans people out. And I think TV, it doesn't have to be really direct head-on, but there are many, many ways that TV can play a really important role in saving us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not an exaggeration by any stretch. It's extermination, words
by
like
legislation, extermination by legislation.
These are real things.
Yeah.
This is a real conversation. So we can put a brave, happy face on it. But you're moving the needle for us. We can push it a little bit. There's way more of you than there is of us.
Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I think it's so good as well, as you said, that there are so many like amazing stories to be told, and only trans people can tell those stories, and it also helps to humanise.
But we can't do it by ourselves.
But that's what I mean, it helps to humanise, because I do feel like the majority of people in the country are good people, and they're reading all of the bad stuff, and like you have an amazing opportunity.
Definitely, I'm sure it's
humanised.
unanimous on the panel. I mean, if you go on social media, it's just hell out there.
Yeah.
But in the real world, it's fine. I know, at least I'm sure it's the same here. We never have any kind of problems. But unfortunately, it's what happens on social media and what is seen on TV. That's what, somebody used the phrase, move the needle. Like, it's what politicians watch, and that's what they're tuned into, and that's what they react to.
And it also helps to humanise you as well.
Humanise, yeah.
I really want to leave time for questions, because I can see that there's lots popping up, but I would just really like to see if there's anything else that any of you want to add before I kind of bring it to the floor. Is that a term?
You didn't ask me who I wanted to play.
Who would you like to play?
Eva Perron.
Yeah.
I'd like to sing on a balcony.
I'd like to see that happen.
There.
I will come to the show. I feel like someone just made that happen. Anything else that you'd like to add before we
I'm ready.
go to questions?
Whenever you're ready.
This is nice. I'm having a right nice time. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you guys.
Also, if anyone's around tonight, we're all going to Jordan's show.
They will surprise me. So they will come and see my show tonight, which is at 9:05 p.m. at the Piccolo Hotel in George Square. Thank you, Dusty.
So here's some questions. So due to the increasing attacks and hostility towards trans people, This is where we all test my reading skills. Do the increasing attacks and hostility towards trans people cause worry about job opportunities, and does it light a fire in you knowing that your art is even more important? I wonder if I can pick this up so I can read properly. Oh, I can. Great.
Do you like to jump in a little bit?
No, you go ahead.
On the field, like on the front line of being a stand-up comedian, it is weird to feel like you are confronting an actual physical presence of society, and when those messages are really inflated, and you do hear it at the time. I know that there's an audience of people that bought a ticket to come and see me, and yet I'm still worried that half of them statistically hate me. It's just not the case, but that's the message you get all the time. A day's worth of looking at how we are the scourge of society, and then I've got to walk out in front of all these people. So yeah, I'm always a little bit nervous, and it takes me 5 minutes of every show to be reminded that everyone is pretty much lovely out there. So that's, yeah, from a stand-up's perspective.
My mum really worries. My mum worries all the time about how visible I am.
Yeah, me too. My mum's, yeah. I mean, in the same vein, my mum's always said that I never like to hear the word no. When people tell me I can't do something, I'm like, no, I'm going to fucking do it. That's because I'm a narcissist, not because I'm trans. But I will always, I'm just going to fucking do it. And like, knowing that people are like, trans people can't do this, trans people can't do that. I'm like, yeah, no, we fucking can, and we can do it better than you actually, you know?
We can do it even better in broken here.
Hello.
You're so awesome. I keep everything you say. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Oh, I love you.
Oh, thanks.
I think this is a really good one. What can we do to improve trans mask representation in society through film, TV and media?
Well, as a trans math person...
Oh, were you waiting for
Did
me
you
to
say that?
No.
Okay, here we go.
Speak to those people. I said before, you know, we have it being like trans woman is often shown on television as being very glamorous, and we are like sort of tokenized sometimes to be that like glamorous, blah, 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 whatever. But to have a trans mass person on screen is not necessarily as glamorous in certain aspects. You can't put them in a feather boa or in a massive wig.
I'm assuming it might mean trans men.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean. But speak to those people, find those stories, go on Instagram and find those people, go to Fringe, because there's a million trans
We're
people
way
around.
behind.
We're waiting.
Like, we're way behind in terms of, I feel, but I've said this before, that yes, while there is more visibility of trans women on screen, it's actually made us more of a target. I think a lot of people don't realise trans men exist, I think. And so I think with the increased visibility around trans feminine people, that hasn't necessarily entirely been a win for us.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I would have loved to have had Freddie McConnell on this panel, who made the film Seahorse. You know, we need to hear a lot more from
I did ask about the panel why there are no trans men, and they asked lots of people and no one was available. So that is
Yeah, they're right there.
that is why.
It's true, like people not realising it's a thing. You get so many transgender men will post stuff on social media, and because of a vast majority of people of understanding what a transgender person is, they think of a transgender woman and they say, "You're always going to be a man," and the guy's like, "Thank you, thanks very much." A weird level of acceptance.
Well, even take going into Ladies Loos, it's like, you want trans men in the Ladies
Yeah,
Loos?
it's going to get confusing and exciting.
Juno, you mentioned regarding your books and scripts centred, sorry, I'm so bad at reading, centred queer and trans characters without needing to justify them. Do you think the industry's catching up with that?
Yeah, somewhat. I think, so obviously I have studied at the feet of Russell T Davies, who has done that so well in Doctor Who for 20 years now. You know, Captain Jack Harkness was in that first season as a bi guy, you know, kissing both Christopher Eccleston and Billie Piper. Nobody batted an eyelid. You know, that's not why people were tuning in. They were tuning in for the Daleks, you know, and I think that's something that I learned way back with Buffy the Vampire Slayer as well, which was, you know, Willa was allowed to have a girlfriend and it didn't matter, she was still a badass witch. And so I've always done that in all my books and scripts, and so far nobody has said no, so I'm just going to keep on doing it. And I think there's other things, like I remember I sat down with my mum to watch Vigil, and like I was about half an hour in and I was like, oh my God, she's a lesbian. Like, and it was like a police procedural at 9 p.m. on the BBC, and I was like, yes, more of this. That show has nothing to do with her being gay and everything to do with her being trapped on a submarine, and I want more of it.
If a commissioner walked up to you after this panel and asked how to do better, what would you tell them in a single sentence?
Or ask yourself, am I a good person? And if the answer is yes, just trust your gut and keep doing it. Yeah.
Love that. Anyone else want to
Really?
add to that?
Absolutely, just sneeze that one out.
No, you ate that up. Actually.
Yeah,
so much.
that Jordan's was so good. I cannot follow that.
Don't.
What's one thing about working in TV or media that you wish you'd known before starting out? That's a really good question.
I mean, it's in any industry as trans people, but we're often the only person in the room as a trans person, and it's slowly starting to change. It's very slowly that it's not just one trans person in those rooms. Sorry, I'm like.
I'd like to think that applause is for you, by the way.
Yeah, it was. No, it is.
It was
that's
perfectly
fine.
timed.
I know, right? But yeah, I was expecting when I was going to auditions and when I was going into meetings and things like that, there would be other trans people there, and often I was the only person there. But I think that's just like a thing in general. So it didn't surprise me about the TV world, but it surprised me in general that we are often the only one.
Yeah, the only time that I bumped into you two properly, and India as well, but if it's like it will be a diversity awards ceremony, Attitude Awards, which is a lovely place to be, but we're not crossing over paths.
India, what about you? You're very quiet for you.
Well, I go back ancient me. I go back to the days of typewriters clearly clicking carbon paper. So yeah, I've kind of seen it all in news media, really. But yeah, I just can't get away from it. At the moment, it's just a no-goer, and I don't see any sign it's really going to change. So yeah, bad news, unfortunately.
Representation in broadcasting. That's what.
On the news side,
Yeah.
we definitely need it. We definitely need it. But we need to have people in, not just, again, I'm echoing everything that's been said here because it is the same on the news kind of factual side. We don't just need people talking about trans issues. You know, they've got to be talking about bloody Brexit and, you know, famines and all that kind of stuff. Just doing a normal, treat trans people as human beings. It's as easy as that, really.
Amazing. I was going to ask some more questions and then I've just seen the time. So I just want to say thank you so much to our panellists. For India, Hannah, Jordan, Juno. Thank you for like, your honesty, your humour and for being brilliant. And what we've seen today, but what we know already is that trans talent isn't just ready, it's here. It's writing, it's performing, creating gender-defying, boundary-pushing, funny, moving, original work. And if you're not hiring it, casting it, commissioning it, then not only are people going to go to different medias, as we've discussed, but you're also missing out on some of the best talent in the industry. So what I loved about today is this panel is proof that there is no single trans story. Not just sex workers. There's no box-ticking hires. You deserve to be the girlfriends, the poison ivies, the Bond girls, newsreaders and showrunners, and you deserve to take up space, not in spite of being trans, but because you're just, I'm going to swear as well because you guys all have. You're just fucking brilliant at what you do. So to commissioners, execs, producers, editors, journalists, whoever's in the room, I suppose my closing message would be don't wait for permission. Don't wait for a safer moment in the media. As you've so brilliantly said, we need you to change the cultural landscape. And just hire them. I just want to echo that, and don't be scared of the backlash. Be excited about
That's
the
a form of
progress.
prostitution.
I'll be the pimp.
The madam.
Yeah.
You've just been great
Oh, we've
to
come
madam.
full circle.
But yeah, thank you so much as well for taking the time to be here and listening to these amazing women. And go see Jordan's show tonight.
Oh, bless you. And thank you, Ashley. That was amazing. That was amazing.